Okay, I think it's time to start. I see 27 participants, and I'm sure more will join as we move along. Bhayahari Prabhuji sent a note that he's going to be slightly delayed, but he still wanted us to start the class on time. So with everybody's permission, we will get started. And I think today's agenda is a pending presentation from group 2. So we'll do that first. And then hopefully by that time, Bhayahari Prabhuji will join in and we will go with the chapter 9 presentation and overview from him. So let me start with the invocation prayers and then I'll hand it over to group 2. नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमती भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी निति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंदा श्री अद्वैत गदाधारा शिवास आदि गौर भक्त वृंदा हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Okay, I see group 2 is ready. So, yeah, let's get started. Over to group 2.
Can you hear me properly?
Yes, Prabhuji, we can hear you.
Are you able to see the presentation, PowerPoint?
Yes, we can see your slide deck.
Okay. All right. Hare Krishna, everyone. My name is Prakash, and I will be presenting about cosmic time cycles and their duration. See here. Okay, so in chapter 8, Lord Krishna explains the cycles of creation, preservation, and dissolution to Arjuna. What time cycles are is basically described in terms of yugas, which is ages, and kalpas, which are cosmic days and nights, which offers a grand perspective of cyclical nature in Hinduism. The key concept that is in this slide are day and night of Brahma, which is known as kalpa. And within those days, we have Mahayugas, which is also known as epoch or ages. And Mahayuga are divided into 4 yugas. Then we'll discuss about cyclical nature of the universe and then the eternal soul or Atma. So the day and night of Brahma, the cosmic cycle is tied to the life of Brahma, who is the creator of the universe. And one day of Brahma equals, which is kalpa, equals 4.32 billion human years. And during this time, the universe is created and all the life comes into existence. And same thing with the night. So one night of Brahma lasts for 4.32 billion human years. And during this time, the universe dissolves and all life enters an unmanifested state or the dormant state. And one complete day and night of Brahma lasts 8.64 billion years. And this process of creation and dissolution repeats indefinitely. And the Mahayuga is divided into 4 yugas. And this day of Brahma goes through a smaller cycle of yuga. They are Satya Yuga, which is known as golden age, then Treta Yuga, which is silver age, Dwapar Yuga, which is bronze age, and Kali Yuga, which is iron age. Satya Yuga lasts for 1.728 million years, and it is the time of truth and righteousness. Treta Yuga, known as silver age, which lasts for 1.296 million years, and it's a time of virtue, and virtue starts to decline slowly in this age. Dwapar Yuga, which lasts for 864,000 years, the virtue starts to decline furthermore in Dwapar Yuga. It's 50-50 in Dwapar Yuga. In Kali Yuga, it lasts for 432,000 years, and this is the age of darkness and corruption, and this is the current Yuga that we are in. Mahayuga totals to 4.32 million years as discussed earlier, and 1,000 such Mahayuga make up 1 day of Brahma, and 1,000 such Mahayuga will make up 1 night of Brahma. So totaling to 8.64 million years. Okay. And the eternal cycle of creation and dissolution in verse 8.17 and 8.19 of Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna says, at the start of Brahma days, all living beings are manifested, and at the end of Brahma day, all living beings are dissolved and return to unmanifested state. This process continues in an endless cycle. The cycle is creation, then the sustainment phase, then dissolution and dormancy, and then the recreation happens again. This cyclical nature of time reflects that everything in this material world is temporary yet recurrent. The eternal soul or Atma, Lord Krishna emphasizes that while the material universe is subject to cosmic cycle, the soul is eternal. Atma is beyond the temporary cycle of birth, death, and rebirth. The goal of Bhagavad Gita is to transcend these cycles by attaining moksha or liberation, thereby escaping the cycle of reincarnation or rebirth, not reincarnation, cycle of rebirth. There's a typo error there, okay. Conclusion, it's material impermanence versus spiritual eternity, what Bhagavad Gita is basically talks about. The cosmic cycle reminds us that material life is temporary, but the soul is eternal. And it also encourages us to focus on spiritual growth and liberation from the cycle of birth and death. The key takeaway in the Bhagavad Gita is that it highlights the insignificance of worldly concerns and encourages us to focus on our true eternal nature, which is to attain moksha or liberation. So this ends my presentation. Hopefully.
Hare Krishna, Prakash
Thank you.
Prabhuji. Thank you very much for a very expressive and succinct class on time. I wanted to check if any devotees have any questions to ask before we pivot into the next topic. I do have one question, Prabhuji, if I may ask. So
Yes, sir.
you mentioned the yugas, right? The Sat Yuga, where the truthfulness was the main virtue, right?
Yes.
And then as the yuga processes, the value system is kind of declining. But what I also heard is, like we read in Canto 1, wherein Dharma in the form of a bull has 4 legs, right? And his 3 legs are kind of destroyed by Kali. And now the only leg that is left is truthfulness, right? So
Yeah.
truthfulness is actually prevalent in all ages where other virtues have kind of declined. But you mentioned Satyug also is highest on truthfulness. So any comment on that, Prabhuji, that we have truthfulness in Kali Yuga also as the only quality of dharma which is left versus Satyuga where it was prevalent?
So Kali Yuga, what I understood, Kali Yuga is kind of present in all the yugas. So if you do bad deeds, Kali Yuga is there. If you are doing good deeds, Satya Yuga is there. So Kali Yuga is everywhere. So truthfulness, if you practice truth, speaking truth, or if you practice that, then Satya Yuga is in every yuga. If you practice corruption, or if you practice cheating or something like that, then Kali Yuga is also in every yuga. But in terms of your 4 legs, I think that incident happens when what's his name?
Maharaj Parikshit?
What was the name of the son of Yudhishthir? Yudhishthir? His name, he gets someone explained it to him, but I don't know how much truth there is about 4-legged cow, that one leg is, or one leg is one leg is for truth, one other leg is for, something else. I'm not really sure on
Yes,
that one. I
yes.
haven't done a lot of research on that, but I have heard about it, and it was explained to a king who is son of Yudhishthir. That's all I know, but I don't know in full detail about that,
No, yeah.
the concept of that. No.
No, but I think your explanation makes a lot of sense that we're in the confluence of these ages and one virtue versus another, which virtue may overlap. I
Yeah.
see Jyoti
Yeah,
Mata.
only thing I
Yeah.
know is that if you practice truthfulness in any yoga you are, then Satya Yuga is there. You are practicing the things of Satya Yuga, even in
Yes.
Kali Yuga, if you are truthfulness to what you are supposed to, your dharma. If you're practicing your dharma, you are in Satya Yuga, you are practicing things of Satya Yuga. If you are doing things that is not for others, if you're not doing service to others, or you're not dedicating yourself to the God, then you are not practicing Satya Yuga, and you are eventually doing, deeds of Kali Yuga. So Kali Yuga present in every year depending on what you do. Also Satya Yuga present in every year depending on what you do. That's what I kind of basically get from it. But yeah.
Makes sense, Prabhuji. Jyoti Mataji, go ahead, please.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. It was Janmajay hearing the story, and it was actually Parikshit Maharaj, who is the grandson of
Parikshit.
Arjun,
Great.
and then he's the son of Abhimanyu. If I could ask a follow-up question, I've also heard that a true devotee does not want bhakti nor mukti; they only want bhakti. But in your presentation, you said that our goal of life is for us to attain moksha and return to Godhead, and that is a true devotee. I've also heard is not going to fight with Bhagwanji. No, no, no. Keep me to yourself. Instead, they are going to be willing to be instruments of God, and wherever God might place us, bhakti is all that they crave for.
Well, the main reason of bhakti is, what is your goal? Your goal is just not just to do bhakti, right? At the end, you want to get out of this cycle of rebirth, and eventually you want to be part of that Godhead, which is to attain moksha. You don't want to be in cycle of birth and death. That's the end goal of the bhakti. You don't want to be born again to suffer, right?
Okay, thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji, one more time. Hare Krishna, Bhayahari Prabhuji, Danvat Pranam. Please accept our humble obeisances. All goes to Srila Prabhupada and Guru Maharaj.
Hare Krishna. My apologies for being late. I was held up in traffic. Um, so thank you for the presentation and also the nice discussion that was happening. So we will start with the 9th chapter, and I'll do a summation of the chapter. And after that, time permitting, we can have any question answers that you may have based on what you have heard or what I say right now. So let me share my screen. So the 9th chapter that kind of comes right in the middle of the Bhagavad Gita is titled the most confidential knowledge, and it is also the most philosophical chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. Every verse has extensive purports, lot of discussions. So in my lectures on this, I did try to limit the discussion, but the verses by nature, they're fairly philosophically saturated, and the chapter is specifically very dear to devotees because it establishes the tattva, the essentially the basis of bhakti in a scientific way. So Krishna packs a lot in this chapter, because devotion is something that is very dear to Krishna. Devotees are dear to Krishna. So we'll see there are a lot of assurances by Krishna, promises by Krishna, and the explanation of the tattva behind Krishna consciousness. So quick recap that when we ended the first section of the Bhagavad Gita with the 6th chapter, then we see that there Krishna glorifies the yogi who thinks of him in samadhi. And we had discussed that Krishna is laying the seed of bhakti over there. In the 7th chapter, Krishna now talks about the object of this samadhi. That what does the person who is aspiring to think of Krishna think about? So we see Krishna talking about himself. He talks a little bit about his vibhutis, how he can be seen in various aspects of the material world. Talks a little bit about his nature, how he's the source of everything material and spiritual. The 8th chapter takes this to the next step, which is knowing the nature of Krishna. How can one aspire to attain him? Right? And even though the chapter is often labeled as the art of dying, but essentially it is the art of living, because dying essentially is the culmination of how we live our lives. So Krishna uses that as an index, that one who can think of me at the time of death, which is the same as saying that one who constantly thinks of him during the course of his lifetime. Right? So that is the easy way to attain Krishna. So now we come to the 9th chapter. That in the 9th chapter, Krishna will explain the process of becoming a devotee. So in the 8th chapter, Krishna says that in order to attain me, you should become a devotee. Now Arjun might ask that, okay, but how do I become your devotee? So Krishna in the 9th chapter will explain the how to part of it. And for practicing devotees, this is very relevant, because devotees by nature, they are not armchair philosophers. So they are not like impersonalists, Brahmavadis or Mayavadis, who are just debating about the different aspects of Godhead or the nature of the material energy. Now, the devotees do talk about all that, but from a practical perspective, that how do I use all this to reconnect with Krishna? So all this knowledge of the creation, the universe, the transmigration, Krishna's energy is a means to an end. The end is, how do I use this all to serve Krishna? So the ultimate goal of the devotees is to, one way or the other, serve Krishna. And in this chapter, Krishna will explain that process. So the chapter has 34 verses. So not a very long chapter, but as I mentioned, that with very significant verses. A lot of these verses are part of the Bhakti Shastri memorizing shlokas, because they're very, very, very famous shlokas, very effective for understanding devotional service. So the first 10 verses talk about Achinta Bheda Ved Tattva. And so this is a concept that was actually made popular, or the term was actually coined later on, but Chaitanya Mahaprabhu introduced the concept of Achinta Bheda Ved Tattva, which kind of reconciles the different disciplic successions. So as you know, the Mayavadi or the impersonalists, they follow the Abheda Tattva. So Bhed means difference, Abhed means non-difference. So the Abhed Tattva that they follow is that there is no difference between the Jiva and the Lord. Everybody is Brahman. And there is no difference between the material energy and the Lord. Everything is Brahman. So that is Abheda Tattva. The Vaishnav philosophers, they follow the Bheda Tattva. So Bhed means there is a difference, and there is different subdivisions in it. There is the Vishishta Bhed, there is the Dvaita. So, but essentially, they talk about the fact that Krishna is separate and Jiva is separate. There will always be Bheda. There will always be difference between the two. So Mahaprabhu, he reconciled these into what he called as Bheda Bhed Tattva, which is that there is simultaneous oneness and difference. So there is Bhed, difference, and there is Abhed, non-difference, also simultaneously. So then one may say, how is it possible? So Mahaprabhu says, this is based on Bhagavad Gita, he says Achintya, that this is inconceivable. How the Lord and his energies, the Lord and Jiva, the Lord and the material world are simultaneously one and different. So this is explained in the first 10 verses. And as I mentioned, these verses have a lot of philosophy in them. Jiva Goswami, he writes a whole sandarbha to explain this tattva. And Jiva Goswami himself is considered to be the most intellectual of the 6 Goswamis in terms of his philosophical writings. And he writes a whole sandarbha just to explain Achinta Bheda Ved Tattva. So Krishna over here gives a glimpse of it in 10 verses. So we will obviously not go deep into it, but enough so that we can speak about it. The second section of 15 verses is knowing Krishna, and the third section is what comes out of knowing Krishna. So these are a set of assurances that Krishna gives to his aspiring devotees who have now embarked on the path of bhakti. So let's talk about the first part, Achinta Tattva. So in the first section of the Bhagavad Gita, and from chapters 2 to 6, Krishna gives us the knowledge of the soul. So he gives us the understanding that we are not the body, we are the soul. He gives us the process by which we can make that distinction, whether it is through Nishkam Karma, whether it is through Gyan, whether it is through Astang. He gives us the process how to make that distinction between the body and the soul. And one who reaches that stage is qualified to be liberated. So this is the stage of Atmagyan. Then in chapters 7 and 8, Krishna, he gives knowledge about himself. Who am I? what is my relationship with the soul. So this comes in the category of Sambandha Gyan. So Atma Gyan is knowledge of the self. Sambandha Gyan is knowledge of the self in relationship to Krishna. So Sambandha Gyan is considered to be the essential prerequisite to performing bhakti. So unless one clearly understands the nature of the self, the nature of Krishna, and the relationship between the two, one cannot actually perform devotional service. Now, many of you would say that this is the first time I'm hearing of Sambandha Gyan, but I've been a practicing devotee for a while. Right? So there is a difference between intellectual knowledge and realized knowledge. So maybe devotees may not be able to put a tag on this, that this is Sambandha Gyan and this is how it is defined. But the fact that they are taken to devotional service means that at some point of time in this or previous lives, they have actually begun to realize this relationship with Krishna. So this is considered to be the more confidential knowledge, because now it gives one visibility of Krishna. In chapter 9, Krishna says the most confidential knowledge, which is how to attain Krishna easily. So the next stage to Sambandha is Abhidheya. Abhidheya is having understood the relationship, having understood the Sambandha with the Lord, how do you re-establish that relationship? What do you do to strengthen that relationship? And the process is, no surprise, bhakti. And Krishna says that this is the most confidential, because with this process, Krishna can be controlled. So through Atma Gyan, one can escape the material existence and attain moksha, liberation, which is considered to be for devotees as suboptimal. Devotees don't really aspire for liberation. Like Krishna says, liberation is minor, can be attained by karmis and jnanis and astang yogis. So, and devotees don't really meditate much upon Atma Gyan or moksha. Through Sambandha Gyan, they begin to get a glimpse of who Krishna is. But through bhakti, they can now easily attain Krishna. So, a very rich person, if he has a good relationship with somebody else, he may give that person his address, saying that I live at this street, at this house, you can come. My house is open to you. But if the person is really affectionate, if the rich person is really affectionate, he can say that when you come to my house, this is how you can control me. This is the process by which I become controlled by you. Now that the rich person is not going to tell everybody and anybody. It is param guhyam, right? So that is why this chapter is called the most confidential knowledge, because it talks about the potency of bhakti. So one can reach this stage by gradual advancement, or one can directly start the process of bhakti. So devotees need not worry about moksha, they need not worry about Atma Gyan, etc. But by the mercy of other devotees, by purvaras, because of their prior practice, they can naturally take to the process of devotional service. And thus, they have direct access to the confidential and most confidential knowledge. So, here I'll speak very, very briefly about Achinta Bheda Bhed Tattva. I speak about it a little bit more in my lecture on this topic. So here I'm giving a high level summary for the sake of brevity. So everything that we see around us, it has its origin in either matter or spirit. There's nothing else. It is either jada, it is either matter, or it is spirit. And of course, then we see combinations of matter and spirit. We have 8.4 million species, which are different combinations of matter and spirit. And there is a lot of variety in spirit also. There are souls with different rasas, different mood, but essentially they are all in the category of spirit. So from the perspective of matter, Krishna has already established that he is the creator, maintainer, and destroyer of matter. Right? Krishna says, "Aham sarvasya prabhavo matata sarvam pravartate." That I am the source of everything. Aham sarvasya prabhavo. Right? So everything that we see around us, from pots and pans to the mighty ocean, everything is created by Krishna. How does he do that? He does that indirectly by his desire, by his will and his potency. Right? So Krishna, so to speak, doesn't get his hand dirty with matter. Krishna wills it. This is called Krishna's Sankalpa Shakti. So when he wills something or he desires something, it happens. And the example that Krishna says is just like there is wind blowing in the sky, that the sky limits where the wind can go. But within the confines of the sky, the wind is free to move wherever it wants. So similarly, Krishna establishes the laws of material existence, the laws of matter, the laws of karma. So Krishna establishes all that, and then he lets Prakriti loose. So the conditioned jiva acts in the way that they want. Their future is determined by the law of karma. Matter acts in the way it wants, but it is governed by the laws of matter. So Krishna is not doing anything. He is not awarding the results for pious or impious activities. Karma is awarding it. He does not determine the next body for a soul. The law of transmigration determines it. Brahma is creating all the universe. Krishna has nothing to do with it, but by the empowerment of Krishna. So this is the understanding of the Bheda Bhed Tat with respect to matter. That whereas Krishna is doing everything, he is at the same time not doing anything. Just like the CEO of the company is running the company, but he is not doing anything. Prabhupada says the CEO is playing golf and the company is running based on his desires, what he wills. Based on that, the company is running. So in a way, the company is running exactly as he wants, but yet he's not doing anything. Like the wind is moving whichever way it wants, but it is confined by the sky. The jivas are acting according to the free will, but they are determined by the law of karma. Right? So this is Krishna's Achinta Bheda Bhed with respect to matter. So as far as the spirit is concerned, the qualitative nature of the spirit is exactly the same as that of Krishna. So Krishna is Sat Chit and Anand. So he's eternal, sentient, and full of bliss. The Jiva is Sat Chit and Anand. So qualitatively they are the same, but quantitatively they are different. Krishna is infinite and the Jiva is infinitesimal. Krishna is all powerful, the Jiva has almost no power. So there is this similarity, qualitative, but there is the difference, that is quantitative. So when Achinta Bheda Bhed is used, it is used to describe this simultaneous oneness and difference. The Krishna is simultaneously one with the Jiva. So Abheda. How is he simultaneously one? Because Krishna is Satchitanand, Jiva is Satchitanand. No difference. But also different, because Krishna is the source of the jivas. Krishna is the supplier for all the needs of the jivas. The Nityam Nityanams, and of all the eternals, there is one eternal. Eko Bhavana Vidati Kamam. And that one eternal is taking care of the needs of everybody else. So that way Krishna is different. Now, contextually, when you see Achinta Bheda Bhed Tattva, it is almost always used in the relationship of Krishna and matter. Even though it can be applied to between Krishna and spirit, but more often than not, when one says that this is a Chinta Bheda Bhed Tattva, it is used to describe the relationship of Krishna with matter. And in the 9th chapter, that's what we see. That's the focus of Krishna's explanation. So Krishna, with respect to the Jiva, maintains this neutrality also. Right? So this is another way by which Krishna distinguishes himself from the Jiva. Right? So like Krishna says, Chatupanya Mahasheshta Guna Karma Vibhagasha, that even though he is the one who creates these divisions of the society, he is still the non-doer. Because after having created this division, he does not force anybody to take a particular varna or ashram. He's completely neutral. So by virtue of his neutrality, Krishna also maintains his distinction from the jiva. Okay. So in the past chapters, Krishna has been emphasizing how he is everything material and spiritual. But for a relationship to happen, there needs to be two distinct entities. Right? One cannot have a relationship with oneself. That is not a normal relationship. Maybe that would be like narcissism or something like that. But there needs to be two different entities to have relationship. So one may ask that Krishna, if you are everything material and spiritual, that means you can't really have a relationship with them because they are you. Right? So if I say that I am something else, then I can't have a relationship with that something else. That's the same as having a relationship with myself, which is not possible. So Krishna having saying that he is everything, either it negates the notion of relationship, which takes us to the impersonal aspect, or if we have to accept that a relationship exists, then Krishna reconciles this by saying that while I am everything material and spiritual, I am also not material and spiritual. So this reconciles Krishna's position as the cause of all causes, but also the fact that Krishna is a person who has a relationship with us. Right? So this Achintya Bhed Tattva is important in reconciling the Vaishnav Tattva of the fact that we have a relationship with Krishna. If we were non-different from Krishna, then we could never have a relationship with him. Which is the Mayavadi concept, that they say that perfection is losing your identity and becoming one with the Brahman. So there is no notion of relationship. But the Vaishnavas say that Ananda or bliss, which is the essence of the Jiva and Krishna also, that can only come from a relationship. In the absence of a relationship, all you can get is Shanti. Right? All you can get is absence of distress. You can get peacefulness. But really speaking, bliss can only happen, and we have practical experience of it. So we may be, if we may choose to live alone, and we may lead a peaceful life. But only when we get a family, then we start experiencing the happiness of family life. And there may be challenges also, but that's the nature of the relationship. Okay, so this addresses the fact that many people say that God is matter. So the answer is yes, he is matter, but he is not matter. Because matter is created by Krishna, but Krishna is himself not material. And also reconciles the impersonal aspects of the Vedas, as I had explained. So this is the basis of the most confidential knowledge, which is Bhakti. So the middle part of the chapter talks about who knows Krishna and who does not know Krishna. So those who do not know Krishna, the impersonalists, the materialists, the speculators, atheists, demigod worshippers. So this is in a way a continuation of the 7th chapter where Krishna speaks about the 4 kinds of people who do not know him. So here he does not speak about the 4 kinds. So in that chapter, if you remember, there were 7 kinds of people that were spoken about. The 4 were the metal speculators and Asurim Bhavashrita, the atheists. And then Krishna had also spoken about the demigod worshippers, the impersonalists. So here he will speak not about the 4, but the latter, the demigod worshippers and the atheists and the impersonalists over here. So such people, Krishna says, will never know him because they are covered by a curtain of Mahamaya. The Mahamaya is the material energy of Krishna. So when the jiva approaches Krishna in this mood of either atheism or considering Krishna to be at the same level as the demigods, or considering Krishna to be energy, then that jiva comes under the curtain of Mahamaya. And what does Mahamaya do? So Mahamaya convinces the jiva that matter is all that it is. So in a way, Krishna is reciprocating to their mood. Because they are very strongly grounded in material conception, then Krishna offers them the shelter of Mahamaya, which will reinforce this material conception. And those who know Krishna, Krishna says that Ananyas Chintayantas Mame Jana Paryapasate, that they're always chanting, worshipping me, constantly engaged in bhakti. They also come under Maya, but they come under Yoga Maya. So whereas Mahamaya covers the jiva, the Yoga Maya liberates the jiva, opens the curtain of illusion and gives the person a direct connection with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And then Krishna says, those who are under the covering of Mahamaya, their ultimate destination is suffering. Now he uses suffering in a more general term. So not everybody who is a materialist goes to hellish planets. They could go to Brahmalok, or they could go to Svargalok, because these are all material planets. But Krishna says that everything from Brahmalok to Patal Lok, everybody is suffering. Somebody has a high quality of suffering, somebody has a low quality of suffering. So he puts them all in the same category, that they're all suffering one way or the other. And those who are under the shelter of Yogmaya, they go back to Godhead. So they go back and they live with Krishna. So Krishna then gives the practical aspect of devotional service, how to execute bhakti. Right? So this is the famous verse, Patram Pushpam Phalam Toyam. So he says, whatever you offer, whether it is a flower, a fruit, a leaf, or water, or anything, right? Then he says, either a flower or a fruit, or a leaf, or water, or anything else. He says, you offer with love and devotion. So the main component of the offering is love and devotion. Everything else is simply a vehicle to carry that love and devotion. And Krishna says, Ashnami me, that I will accept. Right? So this is the essence of bhakti. That you relate to Krishna with love and devotion. Now one might say that why don't I offer Krishna meat in love and devotion? Right? Prabhupada says that that is false love, because so if a husband loves the wife, then the gifts that he will give his wife is that which the wife wants. Right? So let's assume the wife likes red colored clothes. So the husband will try and find red colored clothes and give it to the wife. He's not going to buy blue colored clothes and give to the wife. It's saying that this is the expression of my love. Because essential to the expression of love is doing what the person wants, what the person desires. If you do what you want, then it is lust. And when the person says that, okay, I like this, I want to do this, and that's why I'll do this in return for this, that is lust. But the distinction between lust and love is that in lust the center is one's own self, in love the center is the other person. And so when a devotee begins to practice bhakti, one of the first things that he tries to find out is, what is it that Krishna wants me to do? And then he tries and does it. And Krishna, who is Atmaram, Krishna who does not need anything, who is fully self-sufficient, who is replete in all opulences, he says with humility, I will accept. He says, I voluntarily and happily accept. So now we come to the assurances that Krishna gives to the devotees. And so firstly, he talks about his partiality to the devotees. Right? So he says that, so earlier on we had mentioned in the Achintya Bheda Ved that Krishna's distinction from the jivas is because of his neutrality. But that does not extend to the devotees. Right? He says, Samom Sarbhuteshu Name Dveshasya Napara Ye Bhajante Te Mam Bhaktya Mam Titeshu Chapyam. He says that even though I am same to everyone, I'm equal to everyone, but I'm partial to my devotees. Right? So one might say that is not fair, and Krishna says, tough luck. That is the way it is. I am God. I can do whatever I want, and this is what I want. I want to be impartial to everyone, but I will be partial to my devotees. And he says, gives the reason. Because everybody else is either neutral or has animosity towards me, so I maintain my neutrality to them. But because my devotees love me, I love them back. And so even that partiality is not real partiality, it is reciprocation. Then Krishna talks about the fact that how he purifies one who comes in contact with him. So why is this encouraging to devotees? Because when we look at ourselves and we look at Krishna, we say there is no way we can ever attain Krishna. We are here contaminated with material desires, with sins, with so many imperfections. Krishna is Paramam Pavitram, is supremely pure. Krishna says, don't worry. I take responsibility of purifying you. So when you come, as you come closer to me, you will become like me. As the iron comes more and more into the fire, it becomes like fire. So you may not be perfect, but I am perfect. And when you connect to me in bhakti, I will make you perfect. That's the second assurance that Krishna gives. Then proactive. So in this exchange of devotional love, Krishna is not passive. In everything else, Krishna is passive. When the person is doing karma, jnana, stang, Krishna is passive. He has established the rules and regulations, and if somebody follows the rules and regulations, does pious activities, the law of karma will elevate the person to heavenly planets. If he does nishkam karma, the law of karma will give him moksha. If the person is a yogi, then whatever by the power of the yoga he attains, he gets that. Krishna is the passive observer, but not for devotees. Right? Krishna says that I carry what they lack and preserve what they have. So even if the devotees of Krishna are not perfect, Krishna makes them perfect. Right? So this encompasses Krishna's partiality and purification, that he proactively, in a partial way, he will purify them. And then he talks about the potency of bhakti, that one does not have to perform extensive austerities, one does not have to become a superlative jnani, one does not have to perform all the rules and regulations of the scriptures, but something as simple as patram pushpam phalam toyam. Everybody has it. Prabhupada says everybody has access. And Krishna does not even use the conjunction and, he says or. You have a leaf or a flower or a fruit. And he said, okay, if you have nothing, just give me some water. Everybody has some water. All that I want is your bhakti. That is how potent bhakti is, that it does not rely on anything else. And then finally, this is Krishna's most potent assurance. He says that whatever devotion that one develops, I will preserve it. Api chet sudarachara bhajate mam ananya bhag. That api chet sudarachara. That even if that person is sudurachara, the most sinful of the sirs, sadhu revaya manyante, that I consider the person and you should consider the person as a sadhu, because he is my devotee. So what is the message behind this? That once a person takes to devotional service, he will always go back to Krishna, because that bhakti can never be destroyed. Krishna preserves it. And the nature of bhakti is that it will attract the person to perform more devotional service. Now, what is in our control is how long will it take for us to perfect our bhakti. So we can perfect it in this lifetime and go back to Godhead, or we can take 1,000,000 lifetimes. That is up to us. The end result, Krishna assures that you will come back to me. But we can take the short and the quick route by avoiding sinful activities, by focusing on devotional service, and Krishna quickly will take us back. Or we can take the scenic route. the materially scenic route. And so, but these are the potent assurances that Krishna gives. So summarizing, so Krishna had previously in the 7th and 8th chapter, he had spoken about himself as the goal and how the consciousness with which one lives and dies determines the destination. Now he talks about how to become Krishna conscious, and talks about the essence of bhakti, which is love, and he talks about his own reciprocation. And so you see the dynamics in this chapter. That Krishna is asking for something very little, but is offering a lot. Now he's just saying, leaf, water, something small, give it to me, and in return to that, I will be partial to you, I will protect you, I will purify you, I'll preserve you. That is why this is the most confidential knowledge. Okay, so quick recap. So 3 sections: Achintya, Bheda Bhed Tattva, knowing Krishna and Krishna's assurances. Achintya Bheda Tattva is the inconceivable simultaneous oneness and difference between Krishna. This is more of the word by word translation. Achintya is inconceivable, and Bheda Bhed is the simultaneous oneness and difference, and between Krishna and the Jiva and Krishna in the material world. So the confidential knowledge is Atma Gyan. The more confidential knowledge is relationship with Krishna, Sambandha Gyan. And the most confidential knowledge is Bhakti or Abhidya Gyan. Then difference between Yogamaya and Mahamaya. Yogamaya unites with Krishna, and Mahamaya makes one forget about Krishna. And the most confidential knowledge is that Krishna can be easily accessed or actually controlled through Bhakti. And the highest assurance that Krishna gives is to his devotees is that they will always be protected. Okay, so this is the conclusion of the chapter, and we have a couple of minutes, so I'm going to stop sharing and see if there is any discussion. Anybody? Kaushik Prabhu.
Thank you so much for the wonderful class, Prabhuji. So I would like to ask a question about the relationship between 9.29, the one you mentioned about I envy no one, but I'm partial to, nor am I partial to anyone, and 4.11, which says, in whatever ways people surrender to me, I reciprocate accordingly. So the reason I wanted to relate these two is, when in 9.29 Krishna says that, but people who surrenders unto me is a friend. So is it that is also a part of people surrendering unto Krishna and then him reciprocating accordingly? Or I'm just trying to understand the partiality concept behind this. If we surrender, then he will definitely get back. So that's kind of my question, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Prabhu. Good question. And I think you kind of hit on the answer also, that the 411 is actually the explanation to the 929, right?
Yes, Prabhuji.
The 929, where Krishna says that Samom Sabhut, when he says that I am equal to everyone, so he's talking about those who themselves are neutral towards Krishna, and Krishna reciprocates with neutrality to them. And then he speaks about those who are affectionate to Krishna, and then he reciprocates by being affectionate to them. Right? So there is actually, the 411 is actually an explanation for the seemingly contradiction, because if you look at the verse, the first 2 lines Krishna says that I'm equal to everyone, and then in the 3rd line he says, but I'm partial. So it sounds a little strange that just now you said you're equal, now you're saying you're partial. But the partiality and the equality is explained through Krishna's mode of reciprocation. Okay, thank you. Shripadma?
Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna Prabhu, thank you for a wonderful class. I just want to say that I really love 9.22 when Krishna says, those who offer me exclusive devotion, I preserve what they have, and carry what they lack. That really, as a practicing devotee, it really gives you, faith. It really gives you that faith and courage that you're on the right path. So thank you so much to explain it, and thank you so much for this Bhakti Shastri class. Thank you.
You're right. Even when I was reading it, it gives gives a sense of protection. So we don't know. We hope that this will be our last life, but we don't know. But seeing Krishna's assurance that so the fact that we took to devotion bhakti in this life means that Krishna preserved whatever bhakti we did in our previous life. That's a symptom of it, because ISKCON is a preaching movement, so I'm sure each one of us at different points of time have approached different people and encouraged them to join. Some people with very little encouragement join, some people with so much of encouragement will never join, right? So then you wonder what's going on. But this is what is going on, that the person who joined with a little bit, Prabhupada gives the example of dry wood and wet wood, that in the previous lives they have already performed the bhakti which has made them ready to take the next step, and that transitively gives us also that assurance that if for whatever reason we are not able to go back, then at least we will continue to make advancement from where we stopped. Thank you for sharing. Okay, so thank you very much for your attentive participation. I'm going to hand it over to Rupa Raghunath.
Yeah, thank you so much, Prabhuji. One more time. I'm sure devotees have questions, so we will take them during the next class. During the next class also, we will do the group presentations on chapter 9, and we will post the topics on the WhatsApp group. So with that, Prabhuji, I think we can end today's wonderful class.
Okay, thank you. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya cha
Pachitanam Pavanebhyo
Vaishnavebhyo
Vaishnavebhyo
namo.
Namo Namaha.
Anant Koti Vaishnavinda ki jai.
Jai.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
Jai Gaur Premanande.
Hari Hari Bol. Thank you so
Hare
much,
Krishna.
Prabhuji.
Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.